Welcome to this session. This session is about embracing Wipro and about our mergers and acquisitions and really giving you folks an opportunity to get to know the companies we've bought and how we can leverage them. You know, as Abid mentioned yesterday, M&A is an important part of our 15 by 20 vision. And if we are to continue doing M&As, it's very important that we make them work. So we learn how we can make them successful, how we can leverage them, and how we can accelerate growth by making 1 + 1 = 3. Our M&A strategy is actually quite basic and quite straightforward. It's focused around two areas. One is around building capabilities, around domain, around technology, around design. And the other piece is around market access. And so our focus is working with many of you to identify assets that make sense, to leap us forward and build these capabilities for us. Financial year 16 was a great year for us in terms of M&A. We did 4 acquisitions in a span of 6 months, and we'll have the 4 CEOs up here. As Abid mentioned, we've closed 3 of them, so we've actually consolidated 3 acquisitions. We're yet to close one, but we're already working very, very closely with that company, which is Vitios, and so we invited them up here as well to share their story. So without further ado, I want to invite CEOs up. Can I first have Umberto Matas, who's from Design It, and it's not Design IT, it is Design It, so that's important to know. Can we have Peter Rohrbach of Celent, CEO of Celent. Jeff Back, who's the CEO of Health Plan Services. And Shankar Iyer, who's the CEO of Vitios. I know they've placed the chairs very closely, so if you guys want to spread out, you can. So, you know, it's very interesting, and I sort of noticed about the 4 companies that we've bought, right? They all are focusing on very, very different areas. They're from 3 different geographies. They play around, you know, digital capabilities. They play around our whole story around business process as a service. They play around market access into moving into new geographies. So it's quite a diverse mix of companies that we've bought. And the format we're going to follow is we're going to spend maybe 4 or 5 minutes with each leader giving an overview of the business, their value proposition, you know, what has worked so far with Wipro and potentially what synergies we can create together. I'll ask a few questions post that and then really open it up for a few minutes to the audience to get your questions in as well. So if I can start with you, Umberto, and maybe if you can provide a little overview on Design It and what we're doing there and how we're leveraging Design It successfully in the company.
Yep. So first of all, thank you for having me here. You just killed my whole presentation because I've been listening very carefully this morning, and I wanted to reduce my task overload and set a very clear objective, and it was just to get the name right. And actually, this is something you might not notice, but it wasn't designed like this. That typography has been changed. It's some details that we take care of, and all of a sudden it just changed. But so if I can leave the room with all of you understanding that it's Design It and not Design IT, that would be great. I know that some of you thought like, wow, what a wise leadership team we have. They not only found a very nice design company, but they happened to design IT for us. Well, that was not it would have been better probably, but that was not the case. So, and it's that because we design a lot of things. Probably 60, I would say, over 60% of our revenue comes from digital, but as we do service design, it's a more holistic approach. So we also touch upon physical spaces. We can design a retail space that includes technology, but also includes the physical space. We design products. We design experiences in a broader sense. So there's a lot of other things that we design, and the things we do strategic design, which is something like it might sound like a buzzword, but it has a meaning. Some designers, when they look at engineering, they look at them or look at you in a very simplistic way, like everything is the same thing. But when you scratch the surface, you realize there's a beautiful complexity, a lot of different approaches to engineering. So it's the same thing with design. You have many different breeds of designers. And what we do is we use our skills, our tools, and our processes to tackle strategic problems, strategic issues. we help our clients, our partners, or you, to reframe questions. That's basically what we do. We don't accept a solution, a given solution, we just try to reframe the challenge. And to do that, we use a lot of different inputs, we use a lot of different methodologies, but that's our main goal. What we bring to the table, if you bring us to a project, when we partner together, we bring mainly 4 things. We bring empathy, we bring creativity, action, and simplicity. So we bring empathy by walking on other people's shoes. It can be the user, it's usually the user, we bring the voice from the outside, but it can be when you break silos inside a company, we create empathy to be able to work together. We have the tools and the skills to bring people together and help people think and come up with different answers together. We bring creativity. Okay? I've been teaching engineers for a long time. I teach creativity to engineers, and I know that engineers are super creative people, but for whatever the reason, they think they're not. So when I work with them or we work together, we help you unblock your creativity, you help us be more grounded. So it's a great partnership there. We bring action. Designers are very wired from brain to hand, like they design to understand, so they need to act on things. We're not just about talking and about leaving clients with a deck of solutions. We want to execute, and that also brings us very close to you. And lately we bring simplicity. So in the context that we operate in, complexity is surrounding us. So visualizing complexity helps teams operate much faster. That was a designer in your team can do. Couple of challenges we're having. We are very good at dealing with uncertainty. That is probably what designers can do. We're like 400 people around the world. We're very used to deal with uncertainty. We can improvise, we can find solutions. We are not so good at dealing with speed and volume. This is something that is disrupting our industry, because now the ability to make an impact depends on that too. So we have to get better at being faster and providing volume to you. And that is probably the biggest challenge we have right now. We're only 400 people. You are a lot and very nice, and you ask things very politely. So for us, it's very hard to say no many times, but we have to learn how to prioritize when is good to use us, when is the best time, when we're doing this outside-in perspective, when we're trying to get the voice of the user, when we have the ability, or we have the opportunity to reframe the challenge. That's where we shine. That's where you can use us. Sometimes when it's a more tactical part of the design, we'll have to find a different way to solve that. And just to finalize, the journey has been great. Like we've been in for 6 months. I've moved to the US from Spain last month, so I've been only here for 1 month, but I've had the chance to visit some of your clients like Cisco, Shire, Microsoft, Capital One, and I would say we've had great conversations. We're helping you reposition Wipro in front of your clients, which is, I think, is a super important midterm goal. And we're actually doing a great job in Chelsea together in London. We're doing together something in Scandinavia with Energy, in Japan with Anna, in the US with Credit Suisse and Bayer. So we're already putting all this into action and working together.
So Umberto, maybe if you can share an example, a very simple example that may bring things to life for folks in terms of work you've done either on a client that is a joint client of ours or a client that you've worked in the past, just to very simply to bring it to life so people get a sense for what is the work you actually do when it comes to sort of actioning it and actioning what you've said.
I think Chelsea is a great example. So with Chelsea, we're redefining the whole fan experience. So how do we engage with fans in a different way? How we help Chelsea avoid the distance they have during seasons and during bad results with fans. That includes physical experience in the stadium. How do you bring digital there? How do you make a very engagement with your fans through digital? It includes an innovation lab with them where Wipro, Design It, Chelsea are actually going to sit together to think about new solutions, show their sponsors what is the potential they have for them. So that will be a very good example.
Good, thank you. Jeff, if I can ask you to give a little overview on health plan services. We're obviously very excited. It's the biggest of the 4 acquisitions we've done, and we've just closed a month ago, so it'll be great to get an overview from you in terms of what you bring to the table.
Okay.
Can we move to the next slide, please?
Okay, so I get the most complicated slide, I think, award today. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jeff Back. I've been running health plan services now for the past 15 years. A little bit about me personally. I've got 3 sons, 1 just a freshman in college now, and 2 on their way soon. And we live in Tampa, Florida. That's where the headquarters of the business is. We've got 2,500 or so associates, and the company was founded back in 1970, so it has a long lineage in the payer market, as well as being able to provide solutions for insurers. So the main customers that you see on the left-hand side are payers, insurers, and providers, and we provide a BPaaS solution that focuses primarily on anything an insurance company has to perform systemically or service-wise. We like to think about it as a insurer in a box. So the services that you see on the right hand of the slide, which are Sales Link, Service Link, Loyalty Link, and Exchange Link, basically comprise everything you would need to do as an insurance company executive to run and manage your business more cost effectively. On the Sales Link side, we're an agency. We're licensed in all 50 states. We have hundreds of licensed agents. So we help our clients that you see there, we help them grow by member acquisition strategies, working with insurance agents, having private exchanges, shopping portals, anything that will enable the sale of an insurance product. We're pretty good at it, and we're able to help our clients grow. On the service side, that's where a lot of the proprietary technology resides, but it's also where the tactical side of the equation comes in, where we bill a policy and handle phone calls and customer service. We process claims. So we do all the fundamental transactions and solutions within Service Link that an insurance company might need. More recently, we've gotten more strategic because our clients have said to us, we want to know more about our members. You know, most of our clients were pretty good at group insurance and doing health insurance or life insurance or disability insurance for very large businesses. But as they went down market and started to work with consumers, each of one of those consumers wants to be treated differently. They want to have a different experience. They require a lot more tactical, hands-on servicing. So we have to have very automated processes. We have to have things available via web and IVR and the phone and in digital formats. And so they asked us, can you tell us more about our insurers? We don't know enough about our customers. So we introduced Loyalty Link, where we do analytics and we try to understand what are the things that these members want from a policy, what makes them stay or non-renew from a retention perspective, why do they buy the next product that we might want to offer. So those things kind of comprehensively came out of our design point so that we can help people acquire, service, and retain their members. The final leg of the stool is the newest one, and it came out of the ACA or the Obamacare law change, where now we have state-based exchanges, we have a federally based exchange. There are close to 12 million consumers now getting their coverage through an exchange. Well, we're the largest exchange solutions provider for the payer community. Last year we had close to 25 to 26% market share, so 1 in 4 of the Americans on the exchanges are on our platform. This next year, going into 17, that number is going to jump to roughly 33, 35%. And thereafter, with a couple of our run book, we think we'll be in the 40% range very soon. So a big chunk of our business, a big chunk of our growth has come from the ACA. We have 5 million members under administration today. Of the 5 million, about 3.5 are individual consumers, and 1.5 million of those members are getting coverages from life insurance and disability and dental from life insurance companies, primarily domestically in the US. So that's the company, and we've been on a nice growth trajectory over the past 5 years. We've seen a 25% compounded annual growth rate for our EBITDA, and I'm learning now more about EBIT and how important EBIT is from a growth perspective for us as a company.
So Jeff, I would like you to talk about, we've closed about a month ago, and I think one of the big focuses for us from an M&A standpoint is how can we drive synergies. And I think Health Plan provides a really fantastic example, having closed a month ago, both in terms of the traction you're driving on the cost side with replacing certain existing vendors and thinking about how you can leverage a technology base that is global, as well as on the client side. And I know it's early days, but I think the traction you've generated in a month, leveraging a very, very big customer for Wipro and a new customer for you, but great capabilities you have, I think it's a fantastic story. And the story you were sharing when we were in Tampa together, I think is fantastic in terms of how the client sees very complementary value that we bring to the table. I think it would be useful to share that.
Sure. So our clients, ironically enough, were relieved that Wipro bought us because we could have gotten acquired by one of those payers, and that would have been very disruptive. Our clients, the Aetnas and others, were excited about the potential that Wipro brings to us from everything from new and enhanced infrastructure, better security, new products that we can bring to market. But at the same time, some of Wipro's existing clients, United Healthcare in particular, needed some of the same solutions around the Obamacare products and framework that we offered. And literally, I will never forget this, the day we funded and closed the deal, I was in Minneapolis, and I was on a pitch right there with the folks, the executives at United, and that has worked its way through our funnel and pipeline where, knock on wood, we'll have some good news here to talk about. But it's a really good example of where there's a lot of common synergy from a revenue perspective. On the cost side, we work with other third-party vendors. Some of them are offshore. We're transitioning now hundreds of resources to the Wipro family, and that's on track to be accomplished by June. We're going to be reprovisioning our data center and a lot of our infrastructure technology into the Wipro family. So it's been a whirlwind. We're excited about the first 60 to 90 days of the accomplishments, but there's just so much more to go get and achieve that's in front of us.
No, and the interesting thing you shared with me, which is when the United Health Group customer said to them that, look, the reason you're in this conversation is because of Wipro and the credibility that Wipro has with us. And the reason, Wipro needs you is because you bring something unique that Wipro doesn't have. So the complementarity of a strong customer really coming together very, very quickly. It's really a best-in-class representation, in my view, of what we can generate with acquisitions.
Yeah.
Peter, let me come to you. This is the longest courtship we had with Celent. We've chased them for 2.5 years, and we took a while to convince their former owner, which was Landesbank. But we're very excited to have Celent in our fold, and gotten to know Peter very well over the last few years. Would love to hear about Celent and the value we're creating through the access to Germany and some of the other, Austria and other markets there in the DACH region.
Yeah, Rishad, thank you for giving me the chance to present Celent to you guys. So unfortunately, the story is not that exciting. So yesterday we had some Formula One cars here, today fighter pilots. So I just designed it, 37% market share. I just can present you a mid-size, boring IT consulting company based in the south of Germany, also has some subsidiaries in Vienna, in Austria, and in Switzerland, small in Switzerland. So we are basically a company who's providing services, consulting services in the area of SAP. So that's roughly 50% of our sales volume, which is 93 million last year. So fortunately, Abid had the good idea to give us a very challenging goal for next year. So thank you for that. Next year there will be 106 million. So a nice increase, but nevertheless 50% of our volume is coming out of SAP consulting in all areas, basically, except maybe the HCM area. But we're mainly focused on ERP, on CRM, all the SAP stacks, what is available. So then managed service is a significant part of our sales volume. out of this managed service, we roughly have also 50% again out of SAP coming. Infrastructure solutions, that's purely consulting, so we don't provide any data center services or so. So we do infrastructure consulting. We help our clients basically to set up a better infrastructure. And software development is a share of roughly a third or so. So we do individual development for our customers. So that's why I was very excited when I heard that Design It,
Good.
IT, so I learned that now. Came on board because that's a demand what we get from our customers more and more, that we not provide just a solution for them to build an application for them, but also design that somehow, so get a customer experience there as well. So we have roughly 550, 560 employees on our own. We have 400 contractors working for us on a long-term basis, not full-time, but we can rely on them. And I think the most important thing and what we really bring to the table as Celent to Wipro is a very, very decent footprint in the German and Austrian market. And you see some of the logos what we serve actually. And I think the big difference to many of our competitors, we're a mid-sized company, but nevertheless, we have a very, very strong customer intimacy in the clients we serve, and that's very unique. So I personally worked for Celent. I came on board 3.5 years ago, so that was shortly before we actually met the first time. I worked for Siemens many years before, but actually I've never seen a company which has such deep customer intimacy with so big companies. So for instance, Daimler. So everyone has Daimler basically on its customer list, but we do 16 million euros a year with Daimler. So, and they just love us, you know, and some of you had the chance during the due diligence to also accompany us to our customer meetings, and we were able to show you how we deal with our customers, and that is something which is very unique. It was also an experience for me, a very unique experience to have such a deep customer interaction, and I think that is absolutely important for Wipro as well, and that's a big leverage what we can bring to the table. On the other hand, it was also important, and it's important to mention, I was driving that deal also all the time to Wipro, because with that size of a company, you're not able to achieve all that what is necessary for the future. So yesterday we had many sessions about disruptive industries and all the new stuff which is coming up with digital business and all this. You know, a company of that size is never able to have in this broad sense actually the ability to get into this new age. What we have and what we can do is with a big partner in our back to bring that to our customers, and that's actually the goal what we have for the next upcoming years. We did that already with many customers, so we had the first success now after 4 months, but there will be a lot coming up in the future.
You know, and the great thing about Celent, I think, is it shows our commitment to Germany, one. Two, it provides us a fantastic base of customers. I know Michael and Bala are jumping off their chairs in terms of the kind of names that they have in the manufacturing space, you know, whether they be Bosch or Daimler or SAP or HP or Boehringer Ingelheim. I mean, some really, really marquee names of size, and we bring a lot of capabilities that we can leverage to significantly expand these relationships. And so I think that's important to know. Right? Let me come to Shankar, and as I said, you know, unfortunately, this is one of the few transactions we've not closed yet, but hopefully we should be there in the next, hopefully this quarter. But why don't you go ahead, Shankar, and provide a little overview of Vitios and what you guys do.
Firstly, thank you, and more importantly, recognizing that we're still in this courtship, and you know, due to some technicality, hoping to close in the next several weeks or next few weeks. Delighted to be here, and thank you. So Vitios, as some of you know, because of the fact that even though we're not consummated a transaction, I feel like we've been working with each other for a very long period of time, just talks about how closely we're engaged. We are a business process solutions company that is focused on the asset management, and even within asset management, it is the commonly known alternate investment space, which is hedge funds. And I think following on with what Peter said, I think we were in order of priority of how boring it can get from IT solutions to true middle and back office services that we perform. And yet I have to say that often when we get asked, what is it that we deliver to our clients? And I typically say that there are two things. It's accuracy and timeliness. Now those are easily said and understood, but what goes on in the background to achieve that on every single day at a particular time, because people are transacting millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, and being able to make those decisions goes into what really Vitios does as a company. We founded the company in 2003, and over the last 13 years, in a business where we compete with some of the very big names, multi-billion firms, we've made a very reasonable impact, I would say, in types of clients we work with. Three of the world's largest alternate investment managers, Bridgewater, Blackstone, and Oaktree, are clients of ours. There are several other very large hedge funds for whom we do several things. And today, through a global delivery model of about 490 people worldwide, a large part of whom are based in India between Mumbai and Bangalore, we deliver a middle back office and a shadow accounting service through really a platform that is built through proprietary products and some industry licensed products that we use in a seamless manner. So with clients of about over 65 hedge funds, and we really measure our business by assets that we process. So we service about 230 billion under assets. In a pure shadow accounting form, it's about over 100 billion. And to us, this matters because, as some of you may know, the way we recognize revenue is through assets under basis points on assets that we service, which is great for how we all think about non-linear revenue growth, which is how the business model is constructed. So with that, what we do is having a proprietary platform which does really an opportunity for an asset manager to outsource their entire back office to a firm like Vitios, or take pieces of that post-trade that can be complex that we would like to undertake and deliver in a global delivery model, is what we do. I think over the last 3 months, in just the dialogue that we've continued to have and engaged with prospects, we're actually delighted to say we've signed a client jointly that makes it even more compelling for this story to be a great success, and we're delighted.
No, that's terrific. I wanted to highlight that actually, because this is in a partnership model where we've actually signed one of the largest global banks, given the capabilities that they bring, again in a 3-month time frame. So a great example of when the best of the companies we buy as well as Wipro coming together to create traction. The other thing, Shankar, I think it's worth touching on, because oftentimes we get into this discussion on price, and can we command price, especially if we are delivering on a global model and delivering offshore versus onshore. And I think it's really worth pointing out that your rates and your revenue per employee, which is ultimately a reflection of the price you command, is terrific. I mean, it is 2x of Wipro in a highly more offshore-centric model than Wipro. And it's, can you talk a little bit about that and how you're able to command price and not get into this discussion about, where are people based and where are people not based, and so how do you avoid that conversation?
Sure. I think it came up yesterday in the presentations that we heard, and I think the concept of value-based what you're doing versus trying to base it on the cost or the resource that you are utilizing to deliver that value is best understood in the industry or the asset management segment that we service. And from day one, we chose the path of recognizing that we're not going to go down the path. I mean, as a small company, it was important to make an impact where the customer recognizes the value that they're buying and not about where the resource is based or what the cost base is. And the fact that, today there are several clients where we charge by assets under administration, and over a period of time, our costs have actually kept going down because of the value that we create through leveraging technology or productivity improvement, without necessarily having to have any discussion with the client about that additional profitability or value that we've created for ourselves. So it's a model that we'll continue to push through, and as I keep like to use the continued terminology of nonlinear revenue growth, but also on not just on revenue, but on profits too, is the goal for us.
So I'm going to ask one more question and then open it up to folks. You know, Jeff shared with me something that really stuck with me when we were talking again about integration and how we should make this work. And oftentimes we, run into this approach that, look, we want to protect companies from the rest of Wipro. And he made a very interesting point. He was like, don't overly protect us from Wipro. Let us learn the real Wipro and get to know it well. So, the last question, and it's open only to any of you who want to answer it. And, what is positively surprised or worked for you about Wipro, and what are some, one thing maybe that you're still coming to terms with in terms of how we work and function? And it's open to anybody, but.
Well, I think for me, the last 2 days have been just phenomenal, exceptional. I mean, yes, I did recognize that, as a small 400 people company, we were, transacting with a 160, 170,000 people company. I wasn't surprised by being overwhelmed on the various areas from where we got calls of, can you do this and can you be here on particular date and all of that. But having said that, I think the last 2 days have just been even more, or the last 1.5 days has even more revealing in terms of what a fantastic group of people we're working with.
Can I add one?
Please.
I would say that the culture that we're in today is wonderful. It's a pleasant surprise that the customer comes first, which is the way we ran our business, and how much emphasis is on the customer, number one. The passion for growth and to drive to sell more and expand. I thought we were a sales company. We've got nothing on Wipro from a growth perspective, but back it up with quality execution, which can also sometimes be overlooked, and to have the type of metrics and the type of success and the net promoter scores that we're seeing, I think it basically inspires me to say it can be done. Not to say it can't be done, but it can be done, and find a way to do it. So I think it's been, for our team, very inspiring.
And is there anything that we can learn, that we can do better as we, integrate companies or welcome new companies into Wipro that we should be thoughtful of or cautious of or think about?
I want a glossary on acronyms.
One came out. I think we had one come out recently.
Yeah, in our case, I think that it was a different case because our culture is a big asset. So we don't have a platform, we don't have infrastructures. It's basically the people and the culture. So in that sense, I think Wipro have been very respectful on the way they've approached to us, and they have been very careful on protecting the culture, but at the same time, letting something filter so we can understand each other and work together. And I think our initial reaction of a small creative shop confronting 170,000 people is fear. Like you try to block, you try to protect yourself. But I think now we're opening, we're finding the right way to communicate with each other. And I think by protecting our culture, we're serving both parties, because we also, if I get this part of this deal right, there's something to be learned from how this new digital environment behaves, and we have to transfer that also.
And I just want to say one thing, and I'll open it up. I think this was the company that we bought that we were most nervous of, because it was in many ways the antithesis of the Wipro culture, right? And I'm very proud to say, and it's a contribution of the team that's been very closely involved on the digital side, that we've had a terrific touchwood 9 months with the company. We've lost very few people, which is a part of normal course of attrition, but people have stayed intact, and we've been able to work with a very, very different organization with a very different rhythm and bring them into our fold. So we should really sort of be proud of that as well. Just want to open it up to a couple of questions. I know Naveen was requesting if we can make up a few minutes. I can't see the clock, so I have no idea. But we can take a few questions quickly if people have any. And we can't see you very well, so you'll have to stand up and
blinding, this thing.
Hi, I'm Kunal. I'm with the PES team. And my question is to Humberto. So what's going to be your focus on the product design side of your business? Because that's something which clearly aligns with what we do with our market.
Okay, right now we're doing the portfolio for the next year. So we're trying to define where our focus should be, because as I was mentioning earlier, there's a lot of opportunities within Wipro, so we have to be selective on where do we put our energies and our effort. So the product for us is really important because it makes us different. So there's other digital agencies out there, but there's really few that can claim they can create or they can design a complete experience from the digital to the product. So product service experience, as we call it, is really important. And we will prioritize anything that has to do with IoT, anything that has to do with how can we create a universe of services around a product. So isolated products, they're not so relevant anymore for us. But if we can embed them in an ecosystem of services, that's where we would put our priority.
Good. We'll take one more question, if there is one. I think there's one there.
Hi, my name is Chandan. I'm from GIS. My question is, there's one amazing Wipro on one side, and there's an identity of the company on the other side. For example, Celent. At what point in time do we balance it off? Because Celent has its own identity and a mind share amongst the customers. So I just want to understand, how do we actually reach that goal of that one amazing Wipro?
Yeah, can I take that actually? So that's a great question, right? And I find that, and Peter can add if he wants to, but our objective is to leverage whatever makes sense to leverage, right? And these are all strong brands that we've brought. They're very strong in the markets that they focus in and serve. And so we want to leverage those very strong brands, complementing them with the strength and the scale and the global breadth of Wipro. So in all these cases, in fact, at the moment, the intent is to nurture the brand, to leverage the brand, to keep the brand. And as we move forward in the journey with these companies, we'll make a call whether it makes sense to continue with that or not. But certainly for the moment, we very much want to leverage these brands because that's one of the reasons we bought them, because they were very, very strong. But if anybody wants to add something.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, you also have to be aware there is a certain reason why people work for mid-sized companies. So when I get applications from people, you very often see in the CV, so they either jump from Capgemini to Accenture to whatever, or they stick to smaller and mid-sized companies. So there's a reason many people like to work for mid-sized companies. So bringing them into such a big company as Wipro is, at one moment in time, that also creates a cultural shock. And that is not what we want to achieve. So we want to keep the people within the company, make them like Wipro, then after a while make them love Wipro, and the next step then is be one amazing Wipro. And I think that is the right approach, and that's something we can achieve within 2 years or so. But take your time, that would be my recommendation for that.
Thank you.
Good. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to end. I want to thank you all for joining us here. I also want to say that we're very excited to have you in the Wipro fold. And, M&A is a very strategic element. A large chunk of our growth, over 5 to 6% of our growth for financial year 17, is going to come from these companies. So they're very important and very core to us. So thank you again. And thank you.
Thank you.